What's up? So, you've probably heard of AI image generation. You might have even used it yourself. So, what is this based on? Well, most, if not all of them, are based on something called a general adversarial network. And so, what that's doing is there's one part of the neural network that's trying to generate an image. It's taking pixels and shifting them around and trying to produce something that would be described by the prompt that you give it. The other part of the neural network is looking at those images and saying whether or not they match. So a lot of people wonder why Satan exists. Why did God create Satan? Or why does he allow him to continue to do what he's doing? Well, in a sense, God created an adversarial network. He is the king, he is the judge, and Satan's job is to accuse you. So in this situation, you are the defendant. You are the one, like in Genesis. No, they ate the fruit. They did the wrong thing, and he's coming to God and saying this, and God is judging between them. And in a sense, God is the plaintiff, but it's more so that Satan is the plaintiff and God is the judge. So he's saying, like, he broke your laws. It's the laws of the judge who represents the government, the kingship, right? But like he sinned against you. It's not exactly that God is bringing his case against you. So he created this plaintiff in a sense, who is also his own lawyer, so to speak. Or you might consider God to be the plaintiff. Regardless, Satan's this lawyer. And along the way, he's accusing you. He's saying, like, he's not bearing your image because that's what human beings are. They are created in the image of God. They are image bearers. They are intended to work with God to bring order to the world. All along the way, this Satan creature is trying to accuse you, but not only that, he's trying to like there's a network of cohorts, so to speak, that are trying to get you to do things that they might accuse you for. They're tempting you. And this was actually recently like, kind of a revelation about the whole satanic world is like their only job is to like yes, pervert, twist, um, destroy, steal, kill, and destroy. But he's doing that according to God's rules, like with the framework of the law of the land. He's like trying to get you to stumble and fall so that you will fall under just judgment. And an example of this is in like Numbers when Balaam he's like you can't get God to curse them. He's not going to. But if you get them to fall to sin, God will curse them himself. And like that's the entirety of Satan's goal in this world, to bring down as many people as possible, so that they don't fulfill their destiny, their purpose. Whereas God's goal is to bring his image bearers into closer and closer accuracy to his image, to be more and more like him, and thus be able to be closer and closer to him in a relationship. It's like so if you wonder why Satan exists, it's like because the image starts out as noise. Now you can say, well, we are created good, but we got noisy in this sinful world that we take part in. And so it's like we start out innocent as babies, and then we slowly progress and become more corrupt. So then after maturity, we have the opportunity to be returned to like our true purpose and state, um, or to continue being noisy, basically. And so these testings, like God is trying you, and when you come through that, Satan is less able to accuse you. It's like, okay, he's a little closer, and then so that process just keeps going until you are brought closer and closer to the image of God. Now, unfortunately, that's never going to happen because even in AI image generation, like it takes like if you broke that down into like seconds, like these iterations, it would just be forever. Like it would just be like hundreds and thousands of years. But what you can do is essentially destroy the image and start over. So if you want to approach something more like what you're going for, you can feed an initial image into the image generation system, and it will have that as a base to start out with. So if like I'm looking for like a picture of a Wild West cowboy, if I feed it noise initially to start out with, it will eventually get there because that's what it's trained to do. But we're not like that. But what you can do is feed an initial image of like, let's say a guy's face. Now, depending on your settings, like you're not really gonna get away from a face. Like you have a starting place. So whatever you come out with, it's at least going to be something like the image that you're looking for, with varying degrees of accuracy as it progresses. So like as like you can see these intermediary steps, and like you can kind of see a hat forming, this cowboy hat, and then like the image of the background like shifts until it's more and more like this Wild West town or whatever. And so ultimately that's the goal, is for it to perfectly match the stated intent, which is this prompt that you give it. And that's God's intent, is to bring you closer and closer into fellowship and mirroring of himself. So, like, if you think about this in the context of a courtroom, it's saying, like, look, this person failed here, 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 here. And like, the more time goes on, like, the more accusations. But at some point, it's like, okay, you restarted the image. You started with this initial image, and I can no longer say that this doesn't look like a face. This doesn't look like a person or something like the judge to begin with. Now, this analogy doesn't perfectly coincide, but it's something like that. But it can still challenge and say, well, it's not precisely the same, and so it still has to manipulate the image to get closer to that prompt. But all along the way, this adversary is saying, no, no, wrong, wrong, and it's trying to critique it as best it can. But Satan, the adversary, actively is trying to prevent it from getting to that goal. So that's why it's a little bit different. But essentially, it's an adversarial network. In this courtroom, which many allusions in the Bible are to this God being the judge, and us being lawbreakers. You have this accuser. In Colossians, it talks about the handwriting of ordinances that was against us. That's what was nailed to the cross. Like, this is the written account of your having broken the law. By dying with Christ, we're starting afresh. It's being born again. It's taking on his image, and that can't be taken away. It's like you're starting new. And so when God sees you, that's what he sees. It's like, you have my image, the image of my son, my perfect son. Everything that comes before that is erased. Now, you can get into why is that just to forgive, but like I think we can agree that if you were in the case of the defendant, you would want to be forgiven. So it's easy to look at others and say, well, they shouldn't be forgiven. And that's kind of the point. It's like, how can you point the finger when you yourself are guilty in so many ways? Just in your daily conversations, you're, preferring your own way. And these are like what we think are minor things, but there are many greater things just throughout our whole life. We're just constantly seeking our own selfish ambitions and perverting what God has made and doing all of these things, just making noise out of this order, when what we're supposed to be doing is helping the world get into a more orderly and perfect place, like where it initially started out at. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. interesting little analogy, kind of an explanation of what Satan is, why he exists. And to me, it makes sense. You have to think about it in the context of a courtroom and this refining process of bringing these creatures, us, into greater and greater resemblance to the Creator. And this is how he chose to do it, because how would you know otherwise? Without being tested, how would you know as the creature? Without this, we would just be like robots doing exactly what we're told to do. And that's not what was decided. If you were that, you wouldn't know it. Be grateful that you have a free will and choose good, choose Christ. That's what I have to say. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out. And see you next time.